This is Barnstable Today for Monday, March 16th. Welcome aboard. I'm Mark Mumford.
Today we are focusing on the new manager at Barnstable Municipal Airport, Bud Briault.
We are here in the office of the brand new airport manager, Bud Briault. Of course, a familiar face to a lot of folks in town because Bud's not new here. Of course, Bud, I started talking to you years ago when you were with the Coast Guard and had leadership roles there. And then, of course, was it Truro where you were running things out in Truro as well after that? And, of course, assistant to the DPW here, assistant to Mark Ells, and now you have, a couple of weeks in the job as airport manager. First of all, how do you feel about this new position?
I think it's a wonderful job. I'm very happy, and I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
You know, a lot of us probably don't have a great perspective on what exactly the manager of the Barnstable Municipal Airport, what those duties include. Can you give us a sense? I know you're fresh, but give us a sense of what your take on it is.
Well, I think it's a typical job for any manager of a municipal segment of the government, but you're managing an aviation facility, and so your primary concern is flight safety, and making sure that we are also running this as a viable business, so that we can bring in enough revenues to continue to operate.
That's interesting because obviously your background with the Coast Guard seems like it would relate very thoroughly in this regard.
Well, in the Coast Guard for 20 years I flew as a pilot, and then I got mostly into what I call flying a desk. But however, during part of that time, I did run the retail operations at Otis way back in the 70s. So I have some experience with running business, and certainly with aviation, having been around aviation for over 20 years. And then I equate this a little bit to similarities to being a town manager, town assistant, or a town administrator, I should say, where I was town administrator in Truro for 8+ years. So you learn a lot about municipal finance and how to operate in the Massachusetts government arena, if you will.
That kind of leads me to one very big difference between what you did with the Coast Guard and what you did here. Not trying to turn a profit with the Coast Guard, or at least meet certain, well, I guess you are worried about money, certainly, but that is an aspect.
Well, in the Coast Guard, you have a fixed budget, and you really don't care that much about it, I mean, as far as trying to make a profit, whereas the airport here is an enterprise fund, and we're supposed to be full cost recovery, and so everything we do has to be geared towards that and trying to make sure that we meet our budget goals by increased revenue. Of course, now we are seeing a slight decrease in passenger enplanements and numbers of aircraft coming in here, so that directly affects our revenue. And so, however, in the Coast Guard, I also, as I mentioned earlier, ran a retail operation, and profit was a main criteria because all the profit that we made went directly into the morale fund, and so the more money we made, the more things we could do for our people.
It's interesting you said number of people flying in and out of the airport down a little bit, and maybe you could clear it up for me. I've often heard that this is the second busiest airport in the state. Some people say it's the third. I guess there's a seasonal aspect. Where do we rate? I'm
told that we're the third busiest in numbers of enplanements, i.e. the number of passengers that come through here.
And how big is your operation as far as employees that are working under you, that sort of thing?
The airport itself has 26 employees. I'm not sure exactly how many people are employed by all of the tenants. I'm told that it's quite significant. So, but it is 26 for the airport itself.
If you had to assess the shape the airport's in right now, what kind of grade would you give it?
A B. I think it's in very good shape for the age of some of our facilities. Some of our equipment is quite old. Some of it is fairly new, but it's very well maintained by our crew. And of all the people that I've met so far, the members of the crew here are outstanding.
Now, it's interesting because you said number of enplanements down a bit, but when you're looking at your crystal ball into the near future, do you think we're going to see new routes running out of this airport, new options, or is the current climate that we're in right now sort of putting a wet blanket on that sort of thing?
I think the current climate is putting a little bit of a wet blanket on it, but you saw the article in the paper the other day about the new jet that's coming in with Rectrix. If everything they're saying is true, then perhaps we might bring in some more business through that means. But as far as other things, I'm not sure that you're going to see much of any increase at the moment. We got about a 3 to 4%, I believe it is, decrease in enplanements at the moment. Hopefully that trend will not continue, but things are not good right now.
So you mentioned that new aircraft, and if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's a little bit quieter than some of the others. I know there's been situation with some of the neighbors in Yarmouth in years past have had some complaints, although from watching the airport board meetings lately, it seems like that thing is calming down a little. Am I reading that wrong? Or has the noise gone down?
I don't think the noise issue is going to go away. I know I'm meeting with the Yarmouth Town manager, I believe it's next week, and that's a major concern of the residents of Yarmouth. Island Air did bring in a new aircraft, which is significantly quieter. I'm not sure about the noise factor with a new jet that's coming
I had those mixed up.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they're any quieter or not.
Yeah,
so
most likely not, is my guess. Let's talk a little bit about the terminal project. It's been in the news a lot for quite a while. I think a lot of people are very interested in it and its impacts on this entire part of Hyannis. We had some messages. I think some people got the feeling maybe that there was a schedule set and there were going to be roads being put in immediately, that sort of thing. But the town manager recently said, don't jump the gun. There's still a lot of hurdles. I think he said 19 at least hurdles still to clear for that. What's your vision of the airport terminal project at this point?
I think the terminal project is still a viable project, although perhaps not on the scale that was originally thought. We recently brought in the 60% design cost estimates, and they were significantly over budget. So we had to stop. We're taking a deep breath right now. We're looking at what they call value engineering to reduce the cost of the terminal to get it back down within budget. And so that itself will slow the process down slightly, but not significantly. We are continuing to proceed with our access road design, and hopefully we'll be able to start construction, if not this fall, certainly in the spring. And so things have slowed down a little bit. We're also looking at the revising the financial plan and the pro forma, and also I want to address the 19 points that were brought up by the town council, and we need to get back and brief them on what our current status is pretty much before we can do anything else.
So not necessarily in a holding pattern, but certainly a slowdown.
Yeah, we're not in a holding pattern, but we have slowed it down a little bit.
Any thoughts? I've been watching a lot of meetings lately in regard to the proposed Hilton Garden Inn. I know the airport board has discussed it as well because of flight safety. It's proposed as a 5-story high building, maybe half a mile down the road, maybe a little less. Any thoughts on that project?
No, I haven't been fully briefed on that, but my understanding is that it does meet the requirements for FAA Part 77 obstruction clearance, as long as they put a light on the top of the building. So, from that point of view, it's probably okay. Personally, as a pilot and as an airport manager, I would prefer that it not go in, obviously, but. We'll do whatever is authorized and what is required. I am concerned also about the amount of water that they're using. My understanding is that the amount of water that's needed for that facility is significant. I want to make sure that that's not going to impact the terminal project or anything here at the airport.
Also, you need to have a lot of water available for any type of emergency situations at the airport as well. Is that true?
That's correct.
Any advice for flyers or regular users now that you're in the manager's seat? Any advice for would-be flyers other than the common sense approach?
No, keep common sense and keep flying them safely the way you have been, and everything will be fine.
What do you think are the biggest challenges you're facing?
Probably right now is the terminal project and getting that off the ground. And we want to get it built. This is a building is 50-some-odd years old.
Please keep in mind that the meetings of the Airport Commission are available on demand at the town's website, town.barnstable.ma.us.
Meanwhile, there are no meetings on the town calendar for this evening.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin Friel.
We'll meet you right back here tomorrow. I'm Mark Mumford.